a couple weeks ago I posted about feeling like a lack of purpose or direction in my professional life, and it's kind of come back up in a sense lately. Like when I was coming up in photography, you specialized in something. Generally, you weren't really a jack of all trades. You had one area of focus, you mastered it, you became an expert in it, and that's what you became known as. So for me, well, over the course of almost 20 years shooting stills, I have done just about a little bit of everything. Weddings, headshots, you name it. But by and large, my area of expertise, my focus, was in dance, specifically ballet. Recently, I came across a post on LinkedIn from a filmmaker, and I think it was along the lines of, kind of like a ins and outs of 2025. Not necessarily like a resolution, but like what's in for this year and what's out for this year. Basically, one of the things that this person had mentioned was kind of focusing in on one industry, and that's kind of like what you do, what you're known as, what your brand is, and what have you. Well, just the other day, I got an email from, it's like a mass email from Landon, by the way, who now owns Full-Time Filmmaker. And one of the things he mentioned in this newsletter of sorts was, like when he was first starting out, he was doing a little bit of everything. Weddings, music videos. He just wanted to say yes to get as much work as possible and just kind of be as available as possible for any work that came up. And as he kind of went on a little bit about this, he talked about how ultimately that led him to burnout, but then also it led to confusion about his brand. What was he all about? What did he really do? Who was he? And it resonated with me because this is kind of where I'm at right now as I'm navigating, a new medium of storytelling and trying to figure out, what it is I want to do, what stories I want to tell, and like where my passions in it really lie. So earlier on, I was on Instagram and saw a post from a photographer I follow, Hannah Miles, and the caption was "Girl in Menswear," and honestly, I couldn't remember exactly why I followed her. Looking at her feed, I'm assuming she probably did something maybe in soccer, like a livestock kind of thing. But anyway, in this post, she talked about this idea that she had a long time ago, and basically she's working on a book titled "Girl in Menswear," which is the space that she as a photographer primarily works in. And the thought behind her idea is that she would interview and shoot influential figures in menswear, which I thought was a great freaking idea. I love the idea of creating your own IP, your own content, based on your passion, based on what you're working in. So I decided to kind of look a little deeper into her feed to kind of, I guess, get reacclimated. And one of the next posts I saw was her talking about, waiting for clients to call her and hire her to shoot stuff that she wants to shoot, for like Instagram. But then she basically decided that wasn't the move. So she went ahead and started on her own creating the kind of content that she wanted to get hired for. And lo and behold, once she started doing that, then she actually started getting those calls. People started to hire her to create the stuff that she's passionate about, which I thought was, again, great freaking idea. So then I kind of pulled back a little bit and kind of looking at her grid as a whole, especially more recently. She has a nice mix of, like, you know, I'll call it client work, but it could be passion project, I don't know, but some of that work. But then she also has like her own self-portraits that are completely stylized as if they were client work, which I thought was, just absolutely incredible. To be that committed to your brand, to be that committed to the body of work that you want to create, and to have portraits of yourself as kind of part of that is just absolutely amazing, and I love that. So kind of going back in, I came across one other post where she talked about how she used to live in New York City and ran her own fashion blog. So I think my takeaways from this, and especially in looking at Hannah's stuff, is I admire her commitment to her brand. And realizing that maybe some of her posts of herself are, maybe they're sponsored posts, maybe that's just sponsor stuff. But regardless, just her seemingly unwavering commitment to the work she wants to do and what her brand is. It's amazing. But then also her commitment to charting her own path, creating the opportunities for herself, which I think is kind of where I'm at right now. One is just trying to make sure I'm paying bills by almost whatever means necessary. But then with that, contemplating different creative endeavors as a way to almost as kind of like spec projects. But I think one of my higher arching goals is to kind of create my own media company at some point. So right now I'm considering options of, creating, I guess, kind of like a low level, small, content stuff. Again, that's more about creating a portfolio to, like a proof of concept, more than it is about, creating that business. It sounds different in my head. But when I'm saying it, it sounds pretty stupid. But like, for me, huge into soccer or football, depending on where you're at in the world. And like this summer, we've got the Club World Cups coming to Philly, and then next year we have the World Cup, as well as the MLB All-Star Game. So, those are like my two favorite sports, baseball and soccer. So, trying to create bodies of work that I want to create that would get me hired, but also just simply stories that I want to tell. So we'll see. First things first, gotta pay those bills, and then see what we have time for. And there's other things I do as well, like politics, but can't do it all. Anyway, rambling now. So till next time. Deuces.